Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome everyone to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and I'm excited to announce that this is the 60th episode of the Health and Wellness Podcast. So I'm really excited. This one, I wanted to discuss something that is a pretty big deal in our society, but that I haven't really touched on too much before, and it's the brain. Now, our brains are very, very important, of course. We need our brains, but there are a lot of different diseases and disorders and different things that can affect our brains and that are kind of scary and that some of us may not be aware of. Some of us may be directly affected by a loved one or by ourselves. And I wanted this episode to be about ways to boost your brain power and to boost your brain function and to just keep your mind and your brain as healthy as possible. We always think about exercising different parts of our bodies, but sometimes we forget that we got to keep our brain in tip-top shape and that we can do our best to keep our brains healthy. There were some, there's a lot of things that can affect our brain, not, trying to avoid as much force and like trauma to the brain, such as like concussions and just blunt force to the brain as well is something that we commonly think of when we think about protecting our brains and things like that. But we can also do things inside and out to help exercise our brain and to keep our brain as healthy as we possibly can. Some facts that I learned were that, things such as dementia is very, very common. There are over 3 million cases just in the US alone each year, and so new cases per year. And of course that does start to be diagnosed later on in our life, after about 40. Really, it's really common over the age of 60, but there are some things that we can try to do to help lower our risk factors as well. And there's just a lot of different things that can affect it. Alcoholism, drinking a lot of alcohol can definitely be a key factor that could heighten your risk. Huntington's disease is another. This is more of a genetic disorder, but it basically deals with the progressive breakdown of nerve cells in the brain. So it really just, Huntington's disease, basically it starts in a really simplistic way of explaining it, is it deteriorates your physical and mental abilities through time, just as you get older, and there is no cure for it. So there are a lot of things. I think that the most common thing that we think about is concussions, but there are other disorders and diseases and things that can affect our brains that we don't really talk about real often. So I wanted this episode to be about how to kind of boost our brain power and to boost our minds and to help them stay as healthy as possible. So the average adult human brain has 100 billion cells. Now, we used to think it's an old idea that basically after childhood our brain starts developing, and that once all the synapses and connections and things were formed, that they were formed and set for life, and that basically they just began to decline, that there was no way to start new ones and build up new ones. But we do know that our brain's ability, that our brain's basically it's called neuroplasticity, is its ability to create and actually reorganize all these synaptic connections, and that happens throughout our lives. And there are also a lot of research being done now that shows that there are a lot of ways in which we can kind of manipulate this and have this happen, and we can boost our brain power, and basically like feed our brain is another way of thinking about it as well. And so this episode, I kind of wanted to share some of that with you. So one is actually exercise. Now, exercise is good not only, of course, for our body and our physical fitness and things like that, but it is also really good for our brain as well. So, and the reason why it is good for our brain is it helps it helps with our cognitive function. And there's a study that has been proven that the adult's brain processing speed actually improves after just in half an hour of moderate exercise. So staying on top of that, strength training is really good, because there's also research that suggests that strength training also helps in the way that it boosts cognitive function as well, and that it can increase levels of brain deprived neurotrophic factor. So our levels of that, and most commonly known as BDNF, which controls our nerve cells and the growth of our nerve cells. So that's really good too as well. And then also there are other little things, different types of exercises that you can do. So for example, like dancing. Dancing is a lot of fun. It's enjoyable. You can take a dance classes. You can go out dancing. You can just dance while you're cleaning your house, playing music and things like that. But it does, so dancing helps improve our brain, and it helps us conquer and learn how to deal with mental challenges such as coordination and planning as well. So, because with hand and eye coordination, that's all part of our brain as well. Golfing is another one that a study found that golfing helps causes structural changes in the parts of our brain that are associated with sensory control. So another one is, and you think about it, we don't think about it, a lot of people think about golfing as a pleasurable pastime or dancing as something just fun to do, but it really is helping your mind as well. You can do more than just math problems and things, which are good too, but there are other ways to also help our mind. Another one that I thought was kind of fun and a really fun idea as well was breaking up your normal routine. It's kind of like, in a way, like tricking your brain, because our brain is used to our routine. We get into a routine throughout our lives, and as you turn into like an adult and you just kind of have your routine every morning. I don't know, you might get up, drink water, then brush your teeth, or maybe you're one of those people that gets up, takes a shower first, then brushes teeth. Maybe you brush your teeth in the shower. I don't know. People have their routine. You walk downstairs. My routine is after I get ready in the morning, I walk downstairs, I let the dogs outside into the backyard, and then as they're out in the backyard taking care of business, I either make coffee or tea in the morning and whatever breakfast I might have that morning and lunch, and then I put my stuff in the car and start my car up and let it warm up, and then I go back inside the house, let the dogs in, because that's about half an hour that they've been outside, put them back in the house, and then I leave. So that's pretty much sums up my morning routine. But, you know, you can add little twists to your morning routine that will help trick your brain. Like, for example, something that might be a little bit fun for you if you wear one is having your watch upside down. So forcing your brain to really think about it, because when you have your watch on right side up and what we're used to, we just glance down. You don't even really need to study your watch, and you could just glance down and see what time it is, and you know, depending on where the hands are, about what time it is. But having to just wear your watch upside down forces you to actually look at it in your brain, to think about it, and to actually compute what you are seeing. So that's one way to kind of trick your brain and force it to, you know, work a little bit harder, as well as even just brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. If you always brush your teeth with your right hand, try brushing it with your left hand. It is a little bit tricky, but that helps with your cognitive function. It helps with your hand and eye coordination and things like that. So just little things that you can do throughout your day to kind of keep your mind guessing. And with that, I'm going to cut it to my first break. And when I come back, I'm going to give you guys some more tips on how to boost your brain power. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and I am going over today ways to boost our brain power, boost our minds, and things like that. So we did just talk about exercising for our minds, not only just for our bodies, but for our minds as well. Another one, which is pretty common knowledge, but I think that we forget about it, is music and listening. Not only just listening to music, but singing, playing an instrument, all exercises our minds. And one, this is a good way to release the chemical dopamine, which is really good for just helping you feel good. And also classical music, specifically Mozart, can be linked to brainwave activity that impacts attention and our cognitive function as well. And, you know, if you write music, if you have taken like theory classes and things like that, can help you with your mind. And just playing music, if you know how to play an instrument, or maybe learning how to play an instrument, starting to take music lessons. My brother, I have one brother, our baby brother, who has been playing piano since he was 5 years old, and he's now going to be turning 19 this year. So he's been playing for many, many years. He writes music, he composes, he plays different instruments as well. Not piano is his main instrument, but he does play a lot of other instruments as well. And so that's how he's exercising his mind and things like that. And then, so he went through musical classes, he did theory training and things like that, and he studies music. He actually studies music. And then my other brother, he's kind of like, he's a fun guy as well, but he actually taught himself just through YouTube and hanging out with his friends, and even asking our baby brother to kind of help him how to play the ukulele. And so, you know, there's other ways you could go on YouTube. You don't necessarily need to hire a piano teacher or a music teacher or take musical classes. You can learn off YouTube even nowadays. So if it's just something that you want to try out on your own time, that's definitely a thing that you could consider as well. That is, one, it's a lot of fun to learn something new, and that also exercises your mind, just trying to learn something new, whether it's playing like the guitar and using your fingers and manipulating your hands in a new way. The drums, trying to keep rhythm and time. Playing the drums is really hard because you're using both your hands and also your feet as well. And your hands and your feet are all doing different things at the same time to create a beat. And, you know, playing the piano using your fingers on each hand. And, you know, when you're playing a musical piece, if you're playing a piece on the piano, your fingers are not always doing the exact same thing on each hand. And so you have to get used to using your hands differently at the same time. So that is really good in training your mind. And plus, it's a lot of fun. And you might be terrible at it at the beginning, but that's part of the fun as well. You know, it is just making fun of yourself, enjoying and learning something new, which will definitely help you in the long run. And if you think about it, sometimes through these different classes, like say, for example, you decide you want to take a music class and you want to get a music teacher and you want to take music classes, whether it's to sing, to learn how to play a new instrument, or just an instrument in general, then you meet a lot of new people and you can have a lot of fun with that, which is also really good for you as well. So definitely leading a musical life and adding music to your life will definitely help, as well as just listening to music. Not even so, if you may feel like you don't have time to learn a new instrument, maybe you can't afford it, which is totally fine too. Just listening to music is really good, because of course it is, and this is something that a lot of us do just automatically without realizing it, but it's a really good coping mechanism for when we're upset, when we're sad, distressed, or depressed even. And so that is a really good thing to just kind of help you just release as well. And then there have also been some studies, which I think is really cool. And this is something that I've seen on different documentaries that I've read or watched, but that sometimes certain music and listening to music can evoke different emotions and memories, and that you may not, and this kind of goes back, if you think about it in a more practical way, is basically how many times have we listened to a song that we haven't heard in years, and then we listen to it and it takes us right back to that day when we first heard it, or an event that was taking place where it was playing. And so every time we hear that song, we always think about that one show, or we think about that one trip to the carnival, or we think about a movie, or just a day, and sometimes it could be a good memory, sometimes it could be bad memories. Sometimes you might hear a song and think, oh, this was mine and my boyfriend's favorite song when we were together, but it evokes memories and it digs up different memories in our mind that we don't think about all the time, and that sometimes we may have thought that we forgot until we hear that song again or hear that tune. And so that is another example of how music helps our mind and helps our brain function, is simply by evoking different memories that we've had. And like I said, that we may have thought that we forgot. So definitely something to consider as well. And then also another thing to help us is staying organized. Now this one's kind of hard for me. I'm not really all that organized, but it does help, just clearing all your clutter, keeping your desk clear, keeping your mind so that then you're not stressed about certain things that are on your desk and things like that. And an organized workspace has been proven to help improve memory and your cognitive skills as well, because one, you might be sidetracked from all the things that you need to clean up off of your desk or get done, that you're not able to focus on the task at hand. So it's forcing your mind to do a lot of things at once when it needs its full focus and full attention as well. And that having a lot of, and basically having a variety of stimuli present within our vision, our field of vision, actually can lower our performance, and because it distracts us, and that basically blocks our brain from focusing and processing a lot of information as well, because we're distracted. It's too distracted. There's too much stimuli. There's too much going on, really, that we can't focus on the task at hand or perform and process as well as we could have if our area was clear. So just our surroundings, really keeping our surroundings clean and organized and things like that. And then also just having better air circulation and ventilation can help as well. It lowers levels of different compounds that are just in the air, such as carbon dioxide in the air. And it helps to, having those indoor plants. We did a episode where we talked about cleaning the airspace within your home and in your work environment with different indoor plants and things like that to help reduce indoor pollution and filter your air as well. That helps. It's been linked to showing better productivity, having less sick days, and days where you just can't come in, because it helps you feel better. It's better as far as what we're breathing in and taking in, and our brain uses a lot of oxygen as well. So definitely some things to consider when arranging not only your home but even your workspace as well, and keeping your workspace decluttered and things like that. So with that, I'm going to cut it to the last break of the episode, and when I come back, I'm going to talk to you guys about some food that you can enjoy, some different fruits to enjoy to help with your mind as well. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and today we're talking about different ways through our everyday lives and things that we can incorporate, add, or do more of to help with our brain function and boost our brain power. So some things that I wanted to also touch on. So we talked about music, we talked about decluttering certain areas of our lives as well, and some other things just in regular everyday, like in relationships and things, is laughing. Laughing is a great way to, one, encourage us to just think more creatively, and also to kind of help calm us down. So that's one reason why I was saying is when you are getting ready to do a big presentation or give a speech, people say, imagine everyone in their underwear, because you laugh. And if you think about it, it's kind of funny, and then it helps you to relax as well. So that can definitely help you in your mind and not stressing as much. Another one is lying down. Now, you can, because one, it will help improve your posture, which in turn improves your memory. And that is one way to do it is when your head hangs lower than the rest of your body. And that when you're lying down, and you could actually maybe become more insightful. There's been some research that says that when you hang upside down, you become more insightful for whatever reasons. I don't know, but that's what they say. So definitely something to consider when you're trying to just think of something. I don't know, just become more like Confucius, just trying it out. Of course, staying hydrated, more water. The more water that we're drinking, the more hydrated that we are, our mind is sharper. It's essential to keeping our mind working properly, and it does significantly lessen our likeliness to developing Alzheimer's disease as well. And that definitely is just good for our overall function of our body. I don't think there's ever been an episode when discussing our bodies that I have not mentioned the importance of water. Another one is eating a lot of walnuts and flaxseed oil to improve our brain function. Salmon as well, because they are major sources of omega-3s, which is a fatty acid that is good for our minds as well. Eating a lot of leafy green vegetables such as spinach that has different vitamins and minerals that helps fight off dementia, and then antioxidants that offer really good protection against strokes and Parkinson's disease as well. Zinc in pumpkin seeds can help improve memory. Vitamin E in nuts can also enhance our cognitive skills. Different folic acid, which can be found in a variety of breads, pastas, and certain cereals, as well as B12, is really good for protecting our brain, especially as we get older. It's a really good thing to have a lot of these vitamins mixed in as well. Complex carbs boosts our alertness and can offer us energy throughout the day, and are of course 1,000 times of a better idea than drinking like energy drinks, which are full of sugar, and then oftentimes you crash after that as well. So having a lot of eating, for example, whole wheat bread, brown rice, and oatmeal will help us, like at lunchtime, to help push us through the rest of the work day as well. Apples, one of my favorite fruits, is very, very powerful with neuroprotection, and it helps our brain cells. Basically, it helps our brain cells battle against damage from free radicals that can cause cognitive decline as well. It's also very good, some of these same vitamins and brain boosters can also be found in apples, can also be found in a lot of citrus fruits, onions, parsley, sage, and even red wine, which we talked about in last episode as well. Grape juice is another one that is known for the polyphenols in the grape leaves, as well as in grape juice, can help our brain cells actually communicate and help those synapses, which will also help improve memory and learning skills. So drink a lot of grape juice while you're trying to learn your new musical instrument as well. And then also chewing gum is something that has been said to help with not only improving your alertness, but people have said this was something that people would joke about when I was in college, and I don't know if it really works or not. A lot of my friends claimed that it did. I never really tested it out myself, but that if you study chewing, like for example, I don't know, a certain flavor of gum. So say you do Orbit, the winter one, the blue one. I always get the Orbit blue pack. I don't even know what it's called, what flavor it is, but winter mint or whatever. And you're chewing that while you're studying for a test, and that's all that you chew while studying for your test. That when you take your test, if you chew on that same gum flavor, that it will help you recall some of the things that you've studied. So like I said, I never really tried it for myself, but a lot of people say that, and I know that a lot of my friends in college would try that because we've always heard about that. So chewing gum, that same gum flavor, may help you recall. And then also another, as we get ready to wrap up this episode, basically one thing that has always kind of like that placebo effect, or just really having that mind over matter type situation, is positive thinking. To always think positively about things. I read one time this article where the writer was saying that instead of making excuses and apologizing for things, she would thank the person. So for example, say she may be running a few minutes late for a lunch date or a meeting or something, instead of walking in and saying sorry, oh, I'm so sorry for being late, I'm so sorry, that she would say thank you. I thank you for waiting for me today. I appreciate your time and your patience today. And just saying thank you instead of sorry, and incorporating that into your everyday language instead of always apologizing for things, because sometimes we apologize for things where they don't really need an apology. Like we'll say, oh, sorry that, the glass broke. But we could say, oh, we're so, thank goodness it didn't, shatter everywhere and that you didn't step on it. That it's a different way to looking at the situation, which may help also boost your thinking and boost your mind, because you're thinking of things in a more positive light as well. So definitely some things to consider. I kind of liked that one, is, saying thank you or being appreciative rather than always apologizing and things like that. So anyways, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and this has been the 60th Health and Wellness Podcast episode. And that's a wrap.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.